A very warm welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me today. This painting here I did in 2018. Now it's a large painting. It took me 3 months to do, and quite selfishly I did it for myself. Over the last 40 years I've sold in excess of probably 1,000 paintings. I've stopped counting now, but I don't actually retain much stock. I don't actually retain much of an archive apart from really early works. So I wanted to produce something that I could keep as my own archive and incorporate all the elements of my work and things that I've done over the years in other paintings into one masterpiece. So this is what I choose to do. So this canvas measures 30 inches down there, 25 across. It's a bespoke canvas. I had it made by a company that I use in Birmingham, a family company. And they actually asked me when I ordered it what kind of canvas texture I would like, because obviously the textures can vary according to the grain of the canvas. I chose a super smooth on this one, which I've never used before, and I must say it kind of took me by surprise. Actually, I put the paint on, it just kind of glided across, almost kind of running away with me. It's like painting on glass. It was absolutely fantastic. So that was a real treat for me, painting on something like that, and it allowed me to actually blend the colours in a lot smoother fashion. So if we look at these colours here, for example, we go from the dark greens through to the yellows, through to the reds and the greens here and the blues. The transition is a lot smoother than if I'd used a regular canvas, because I haven't got those undulating peaks and troughs on the canvas to actually let the paint fall into. It's absolutely smooth. If I run my hand over it, it's actually smooth. So there's no texture on this whatsoever. Well, I incorporated, like I said, a lot of the elements I've done in other paintings. So you see the kind of hallmark triangles there, the round circles, and also the way the painting actually kind of transits across. So although I've got separate areas on the painting, which I quite like, I'll actually transit the colours across. So if you see up here, these colours actually overlap, they actually go past this line here, and again down here. So I've got this circle down here, the red is actually coming through it. I don't always do that, but I kind of learned years ago, sometimes it is quite nice to do that aspect of it so that it kind of links the painting across. It doesn't make it look so perfect. So the danger is if you paint and you want perfection, it can look a bit kind of printed, if you like, and that's something that used to happen to me years ago. The paintings used to be very kind of neat and perfect, I suppose you could say. People used to think I used to do them on a computer. So if I showed images of things to people, they'd say, oh, it's computer graphics, whatever, which it wasn't. But so nowadays what I tend to do is kind of a bit more artistic license, and I'll actually go over some of those outside lines. I think it does make a big difference. There's not a lot of texture in this, but there's a lot of different techniques of painting. So up here, for example, I've used a sponging technique. Now, the sponges I use are natural CC sponges. I used to use man-made ones, but to be honest, I didn't actually like the texture. Texture is very uniform, and it's something you don't get in nature. If you get a natural sponge and you use it, you find the kind of the holes in the actual composition of the sponge is completely unique. Everyone is slightly different. So you do get a much nicer texture when you come to actually blend the colours. The other thing as well with a natural sea sponge is it lasts a lot longer, because one of the things I do like about it, you can just rinse it underwater. I use acrylics. You can rinse it underwater and it'll go back to its natural colour without having retained any of the paint whatsoever. You can't do that with man-made sponge. So as I say, some very dark colours here, and there's very bold colours on this, which is what I wanted really. I wanted this painting to be a kind of a hit you in the eye with the colour, to really stand out the stunning colours. And one of the things I decided not to do was I did not varnish this painting afterwards. Most of the paintings I do, I will varnish, nearly probably 95% of them I will varnish. But this one, I was pleased with the way it come out, and I didn't want the varnish to take away from the overall impact of the painting. The danger with varnish, even if you use it like a silk varnish, sometimes you do get light reflection come back, and I didn't want anything else interfering with the structure of the painting. I wanted the viewer just to see the painting as it is, without having any other kind of external interruptions from light or anything like that, reflections. So it is a completely matte finish on this one. That's not to say I wouldn't varnish it at some point in the future, because it probably would bring out the colours, but at this stage I don't think I will, because I can't see the benefit. Somebody might prove me wrong in the future, I don't know, but you don't always have to varnish paintings. I say this is on a stretch canvas. It's about 2 inches deep, so it's quite a deep canvas, and the design does go right around the edge. I'll put some stills up of the edges, because what you see here is extended right the way around the edge, so there's no kind of depletion of the actual design. The whole thing actually extends right around the edge, which I think is quite important when you're going to have a canvas like this on the wall unframed. You want it also almost to be like a 3D effect, and that's something I quite like to do in the work. Now, some aspects of this are very kind of watery, so something like this, I'll put a lot of water on this area and then introduce the paint almost in blotches and let it kind of dilute, almost like a blotting effect, so it kind of spreads. Whereas other areas, say like this, that'll be quite intense. So I'll probably do that with a sponge, dab it on, and it's building up the layers on that one. So you're actually building up the layers underneath. So I think I started off with yellow, there's some red, purple, and then build up the blue. So you're working kind of in reverse order to leave the viewer with the end result. The actual canvas, I will actually underpaint with a, I can't say beige, I don't really like the word beige, but like a lemon yellow, if you like, a lemon yellowy white. And what that does, it kind of helps illuminate the paint on top. So especially with these lighter colours, it'll actually push that illumination to the front. So it will actually appear nice and bright. And again, it exaggerates those colours. So it really does bring them to the forefront. You don't lose anything in the actual painting effect. Unusually for this one, I have used a grey up here. Grey is a colour I don't mind grey, to be honest. It's not the most exciting of colours. Well, it's not a colour, I suppose you could say it's a shade really. But what I've done, I've used a very light grey on this one, so it doesn't kind of tone it down too much. The grey I've mixed in this case, as with a lot of the colours on here, they're not kind of fresh out the tube, apart from probably the red and the yellow. But all the other colours I'll mix and edit as I want on my palette. And that's something really important, I think, that I do see people buy, especially when they start off, they buy like a plethora of colours, if you can afford to do that, and they don't learn to mix colours. And mixing colours is absolutely vital as an artist, because in theory, you really only need the primary colours, and you should be able to work around everything else from that. I don't do that all the time, but probably 95% of the time I do, because the thing is, it makes the painting absolutely unique, not only to you and the viewer, but you can actually get the look that you're after. You can build up a complete composition that can't be replicated, basically. It's like a signature on the handwriting, really. No two are exactly the same. And it's the same with the paintings. If I actually mix the paint, I know what I'm looking for. When I actually mix the paint, I know the dilution that I'm looking for, the mix, how it needs to go on. I know the consistency. And that's something you only build up within time. And I mean, I've been painting 40 years now, so it's one of those things you just kind of get a gut feeling to know how to do. When I used to teach at night school, one of the questions people always used to ask me was, how do you know the consistency of the painting, when it's good to start painting? How do you know when it's mixed well? Well, you can tell when it's mixed well when the actual paint in your palette is nice and smooth. So it's going to be like a buttery consistency. If you're using it in like a palette with an indentation, as you swoosh it around, you actually won't be able to see any particles of the paint left. It's going to be all in one, nice smooth composition. But more than that, really, you're going to get to know, if you're using a brush or a palette, you get to know, you get a gut instinct when it feels good enough, when it's the right consistency to actually start the painting. And obviously that will vary as to the kind of painting that you're going to do, how thick you want it layered on, and the type of painting you're going to do on the canvas. So this is generally quite a smooth, so the canvas is smooth, but the paint went on smooth as well. So it's probably quite highly diluted in a lot of the areas. So there we go. So that's the painting there. So I hope you've enjoyed taking a look at that. There's a nice little mix of works there, kind of touching on the Art Deco thing there, a bit of graphic design, a bit of a mishmash of everything there. So let me know what you think about that one. And if you can see anything in it, I just paint them. People often come back to me and say, oh, I can see a face in that. I can see a dog or a cat, an animal. And I find that absolutely fascinating what people see. So if you see something in a painting, especially this one, always drop me a comment. I'm always fascinated to see how people's minds and imaginations can see things in work, and that's one of the joys of painting, really. Everybody sees something slightly different, especially with abstract. So thanks a lot for your time today. I hope you've enjoyed having a look at that. Check out the other videos, there's lots on there, and a video comes out every Friday usually and stays on, and you can enjoy looking at that, and give it the old thumbs up, and I shall see you very shortly in the next one. So you take care, and I'll see you soon. Thanks a lot for your time. Bye bye.